we've all had our fair share with liars. I definitely have, but none of them have ever lied about their families being dead or where they're from or how they grew up. But Clinton Kane has decided to do that, and Brooke Schofield finally called him out for it June 26th. So let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today we're going to be talking about another lying, narcissistic, egotistical man. I probably used two of those words wrong, but he's a liar. I'm going to talk briefly about some of these men on my channel, and to bring another one to surface is not my man, God bless, but Clinton Kane. Woo! Also, my room's trash. I'm going on vacation tomorrow, so I have to pack. Let's just go right into this. For those of you who don't know, Clinton Kane is a music artist who's from Australia, allegedly, and he dated Brooke Schofield. If you don't know who Brooke Schofield is, she's the co-host of the canceled podcast with Tana Mojo, and I'm not really sure what she does, but whatever she does do, I support her in it because she's literally so pretty, so sweet from, you know, the internet. You can't really tell how people are in real life, but I think she's really sweet. The whole reason this has become like a thing was that on June 26th, my birthday, so thank you, Brooke, for giving this to me as a birthday gift because I really appreciate it, was that Brooke had posted a 14-part long series, each video ranging 2 minutes-ish, of like her spoof of Who the F Did I Marry? And for those of you that don't know, Who the F Did I Marry was a TikTok series. I have no clue how many parts I think it got into the 70s. 10-minute long videos each. More than 70 parts by Risa Tisa. Risa Tisa, I think that's how you pronounce her name. So Brooke did kind of like her own spoof on it with like her other boy problems. And if you want to look into Risa Tisa's, I'm sure there's like better explanations because I got into like part like 16 and I had to clock out. That was too much for me. Brooke posted a 14-long series exposing Clinton Kane, allegedly. And if you're wondering, well, why would Brooke just randomly decide to go ahead and expose Clinton Kane, allegedly? Clinton had actually started this first on June 24th by posting a TikTok To those that don't know, Brooke Schofield has mentioned his name, has said by name that he has been a liar in their relationship, which I will get into in a second. You know, rightfully so, because of the things she is saying he did, allegedly. I personally wouldn't stop talking about it either. I think I would actually have to write a whole book on it, genuinely. Brooke has talked about him on the canceled podcast, as I mentioned, she's a co-host on, and in other podcast clips that I may put on the screen here if I can find any.
I just found out yesterday that my boyfriend, who I have been, he just told me like very casually, like, oh, I'm actually 2 years younger than I said.
Whoa.
I'm like, what?
How old did you say he was?
He said he's probably gonna be so mad at me for saying this, but he said he was 24. Mm-hmm. Rightfully so, because I don't think I would have dated someone younger than me if I knew.
Me either. I can't do that.
Been together for 3 months though, and he's kept this.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And worse than that, Grace, he showed me his ID, and it was a fake.
Shut up. Well, okay, we can take this a lot of ways, like crazy, or he really liked you and he wanted you to date him.
I mean, he just didn't.
Yeah,
like honestly, that would have been like off-putting for me in the beginning. Now, of course, it doesn't matter because I know him, and like I don't care. But maybe in the beginning, I would have been like, oh, I could never.
She has mentioned him, and again, I would too. Brooke, as just a quick little rundown from what you need to gather from the 14-part series she put, was she dated Clinton Kane about 2 years ago. Long story short, he had swiped up on her Instagram, she liked his music, and offered to fly her out to Las Vegas from California, because he lives in Las Vegas, she lives in California, and she declined because, you know, stranger danger, and for the next year, he would swipe up on her stories, complimenting her. Then, he had a show in LA, and she ended up going because, you know, she liked his music and brought a friend. Day 2, she went. Long story short, they started dating. His story to her was, my mom's dead, my brother's dead, my dad's dead. I used to be so poor. I was busing on the streets of London. I think London. I may be wrong with that, but he was busing somewhere. He's from Australia. He has an Australian accent. And the whole purposes of this is we come to find out that he's not Australian. Had gotten COVID and Brooke was with him the day before. So they kind of lived not kind of, they did live together. And whilst in the relationship, Clinton Kane went on the Zach Sang podcast. Zach Sang's a huge podcaster. He basically has interviewed almost everyone and anyone, ranging from YouTubers to literally like Paris Hilton. So Clinton went on the Zach Sang podcast and explained his life story. His parents are dead, his brother's dead, he was poor, he is from Australia, allegedly. Then after this podcast, about 8 hours after it releases, according to Brooke, allegedly, Clinton was on the phone with his manager saying how this podcast needed to be taken down immediately off of everything. This podcast needs to just be deleted from the internet, period. Still not. It is still up right now. If you want to search up Clinton Kane Zach Sang podcast, it's there. And I think there's multiple ones. I tried putting one on to get a better grasp, but I fell asleep because of how boring it was. Then Brooke is like, well, why would he want this to be taken down so bad? Him and Zach are friends. And, you know, this is Zach Sang is, you know, it's a big name. Brooke then decides to go watch the interview. Then someone comments saying that he's a liar. He's not from Australia. He's from Brunei. And I saw his mom at the grocery store last week. So that's, you know, if I were to see a comment of my boyfriend, of someone saying that my boyfriend had lied about all of his trauma and that he's not even from Australia, I think I would lose it. So then Brooke is like, you know what? Like, that's not just a normal thing you say. And a lot of, you know, like, he had already at this point lied about his age. So Brooke then did her research, as, you know, anyone would do, because that's such a crazy and extreme accusation to just believe it. And people say the crazy shit on the internet all the time, so you can't believe everything you see. This is important to know. Clinton described his childhood as very luxurious. He grew up in a rich house. He grew up with maids and cleaners. He described his mother to be can't seem to find the TikTok, and I'm sorry, but I don't have the time to rewatch the entire 14-part series. But more information, he grew up on a beach house. Oh my God, I look like I'm sunburned. This is really humiliating. A beach house. His mom was apparently this like pastor at one of the biggest churches in Australia. But long story, or what you need to know is that he described his mom to be a white woman with long blonde hair. When Brooke then searched up his mother, because Brooke had his mother's name on Facebook, there was 2 accounts, both of which revealed that he did not live in a luxurious life like that. He grew up pretty standard. Like, there was no beach house, there was no maids or cleaners. Like, it was a pretty standard life. So he was already lying about that, and he's already lied about his age. So it's not that far-fetched to say that he may be lying about a death at this point, at least to me. But you can't just go around, you know, accusing people of lying about their family death trauma, you know? His mother's Facebook accounts were accurate with the storyline he's depicting of saying that she died a year ago, right? That's accurate. She hadn't posted for a year. Brooke, super intelligent. I would have never thought to do this. Then looks at his mom's friends' Facebook accounts to see if she liked any of their posts recently. And she did. And I highly doubt anyone has either hacked into her account or someone else is using her account to like her friends' Facebooks. Now, to really keep this short and sweet, because at this point, I'm sure you're like, well, we know what happens. Just tell us what happens. His mother was not dead. His mother also wasn't white. She was an Asian woman, which is such a crazy thing to lie about. Your mother's race? Like, what? Not only did this man allegedly lie about his family being dead and being from Australia, he was also cheating on Brooke the entire time and on other girls. I'll put some TikTok clips up here of other girls sharing their experiences with him.
I've never talked about this on the internet, but Clinton Kane used to be part of my roster. We used to go on some dates in New York, some dates in LA. I'd see him every once in a while. He'd call me drunk sometimes saying, I love you. And I thought it was crazy when I found out that he allegedly lied about his mother and father and brother and sister passing away because allegedly. Because the first time I hung out with him ever, we were tied to the hip for 4 days straight. When I tell you, and if I told him I wanted to go home or I was doing something, he's like, let me hug you. Like, he wanted us to be tied to the hip. And I was like, oh, I totally understand, because he, from what I knew, had a bunch of family members allegedly like pass away that year. So I was like, you know what, like, he needs someone. Like, of course, like, I was trying to tend to him as much as possible. At the time, I like worked at a law firm and I needed to do Zoom calls and all that stuff. Like, so I was like, I need to go home for a few hours. I literally will see you in like 4 hours. We'll go to dinner and it'll be fine, right? So I'm like, bye. Like, miss you, love you. I didn't say love you. We didn't say I love you. And I go home to my Zoom call. He calls me in the middle of it. And I'm like, oh, sorry, Zoom call. He texts me. He's like, I think he texted me being like, call me back or something like that. So I call him back and I'm like, okay, it must be like an emergency. I call him. And he's like, I just found out my brother just died. I'm like so sad, I'm shattered, like I'm so upset. And then of course I canceled the rest of my work day and I go straight to see him because I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then it dawned on me, I was like, oh, when I met him 4 days before then, he had told me his brother just passed away. And we were talking about it and I realized like, wait, didn't you say your brother died like 4 days ago? Allegedly. And he was like, oh, I found out 4 days ago he was terminal, so I just like accepted him dead at that point already. But now I found out he's dead. And I was like, allegedly. So then I was like, oh, okay. Which I obviously don't think someone's lying about that. So I just was like, oh, okay, you're gonna pry when you think someone's family member just passed away. And of course I like bare my soul to this person. Constantly did because I thought we related to like parental death. Like my father passed away when I was really young. So I would get into these talks to be like, oh my god, like I totally understand. Like I would never wish the pain of losing a family member on any single human being ever. So he lied about it. It was like, what? That means what? Like it's so crazy to think about him allegedly lying about that because he literally was like, who that is mentally sane in their mind would call someone to lie about being like, my brother just passed away? For what? And when him and Brooke were dating, I like didn't know, I like didn't check in his life or anything like that, but he would like slide up on all my stories at the time, which she knows, like I've told her that. And then and I didn't know like his relationship also would automatically like sent them to her, duh. And then also when I was working in Berlin after her, like Brooke and Clinton broke up, he was like, and I didn't know his relationship, he was like, I just got a relationship, she's batshit crazy and tried to tell everyone that I'm like an awful person or something, and he would like said all this shit about her, allegedly.
My friend went on a date with Clinton Kane. Keep seeing these videos all over TikTok. I'm like, please tell your story because it's swear to God the same thing verbatim, but way worse. They sit down to dinner and he's 30 minutes late. And he goes, I'm so sorry I had to reschedule a few times. I just found out my brother died. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Why are you here? Like, you don't need to be here right now. He goes, that just shows you how much I like you. So apparently they're getting into a conversation and he's getting drunker and drunker. He starts like crying at the restaurant. She's like, oh my God, this poor guy. She's also like, why is he on this date? He's so traumatized. He goes on to tell her that also his mother died falling down a flight of stairs. That he had another brother that was still alive, but a few months after his mom died, his dad also died. He goes on to tell her that he lived in Greece and he was homeless for a year, sleeping on benches, sussing tables, but then also he was somehow filthy rich back in Australia. He lived in a mansion with like 2 chefs and a driver and a butler, but that it was like really lonely and isolating. He was really strangely pushy. Like he kept being like, why aren't you drinking? You're not drinking enough. He was like, yeah, I just don't really see anything I like. So he was like, what do you want? I'll give you anything you want. Ends up getting her an entire pitcher of sangria because that's what she likes. Like an $80 pitcher. It's really quiet. They're sitting outside. It's like COVID times at like a restaurant. He's crying about his mom dying, and then he stands up from the table and walks over her, like first date, mind you, and just starts making out with her. And like the whole restaurant's like really quiet, and everyone's like, what the fuck is happening? She's kind of like, no. He makes some comment about how he just really wants to feel close to her and he cares for her so much. And she's like, what the fuck? This is the first date. I literally don't know you. I'm gonna fast forward. Anyway, he ends up basically inviting himself out to karaoke with her friends. The other night she goes home and he's like calling her like, come stay over. And she's like, no, I don't want to. He's like, I have a flight the next day, but I will cancel it and spend the entire day with you tomorrow. And she's like, I can't tomorrow. Like I have a bunch of doctor appointments. He goes, why do you think you need to go to the doctor anyway? Like what is this doctor's appointment for? She's like, I have a lot of health issues. He goes, like what? This was after their first date. First and only. Then she ghosted him because she was like, keeps hitting her up on Instagram DMs over and over. He goes, you know, I've been waiting for you to reach out to me, but then I remembered you're a Sagittarius and you like to play hard to get. She's ghosted him to this day, but every time I see these stories, I'm like, you need to tell yours. Because A, I will never get over it, and B, he was lying to everybody about his parents dying. Wild.
With how close Brooke and Clinton were, like with when they were dating, like they were with each other 24/7, Brooke said, allegedly, to the point where she says that like when he was sending another girl a D pic, like she would literally be next to him in bed. Like that's crazy. Like that's, I can't understand people who cheat. Like it's genuinely insane to me. Like now Clinton Kane, like his view to like ratio is the most laughable thing I think I've seen in years. So I'm gonna leave it here. That's everything as of date and all the like basically what happened. He cheated on her. How they broke up was that he broke up with her. Believe it or not. She had called him and was like, I know you're cheating on me. And he's like, why would you ever say that? Like, still denying it. He denied it all the way through the end of their breakup, even though after, like the girls he was cheating on her with were like, yeah, no, we're together at the same time you guys are together. And she, on the phone with him one day, goes, I know your mother's alive. Which was a bluff, because one of their last phone calls, I don't know. She's on the phone with him, is like, I know your mother's alive because I talked to her on the phone or like met her, something of their communication. And that was a bluff. She had not done that. She had no concrete proof that this woman was alive. So that was a very dangerous game she was playing, but it worked out in her favor because he ended up crying. I don't know. Anyways, his mother's alive. Brooke knows his mother's alive. The whole internet knows his mother's alive. Australian accent is actually shit. Like, genuinely, it doesn't sound like he's Australian. I know when you're like somewhere for a while, your British accent or Australian accent or your accent period goes away, like Millie Bobby Brown, for example, but it's still there. And he's fairly young. Like, if you grew up in Australia, I'm assuming till like 18 years old, you're like 22 at the time. Like, your Australian accent isn't going to disappear in 4 years of being elsewhere, you know? But that's all the drama. That's all you need to know. Poor Brooke. She's better than me, because this 14-part series would have been posted the minute I found it happened, because I kind of have like a big mouth. But I really appreciate how he called her a yapper and she showed him that she will yap. But yeah, so he's also like, he's an okay singer, but the way Brooke painted him out to be was like the next fucking Usher. Like, he's mid at best. I don't have any room to speak because I'm terrible at singing as well, but he's definitely mediocre. Yeah. One of his songs' name is Chicken Tendies. It's his most... I had something in my teeth that entire video. That's really humiliating. Chicken Tendies, which apparently the reason why it's called that is because he was on the live stream and a fan named it after her favorite food, or their favorite food. I don't know if it's a girl, but people, also his fans, have just come out saying about how terrible. Also, his fans have come out after this talking about how terrible his experience. Also, fans have come out after, you know, this whole thing has gone on, showing and explaining how terrible of like a person he is, even at his concerts. Like, he's just mean to people, like his own fans he's just mean to, which I think is crazy because like his ego's really huge for someone who's lying about everything. Like literally all his mother has to do is send out a statement. And that brings up a better question. Where's his brother? Where's his mother? Apparently his father is actually dead. But I mean, still, like, yeah. Also, how are you gonna lie and say you grew up this luxurious life, but once your family died, you had nothing? Like, no, sir, you're gonna have all of the inheritance. Like, you know? So, yep. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to me yap about Brooke yapping and about terrible men. Also, he's ugly. Like, his teeth are just all sorts of different ways. Like, they should have put him on braces if he was so rich. All I'm saying. How are you gonna be rich and still have your teeth fucked up? Kind of embarrassing. Like, obviously you weren't rich. Like, how are you, like, your teeth are literally going every other direction but straight. How are you rich? But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.